Good evening, everybody. Happy 4th of July. This was the day that you kicked us out. Why would you do that? You seem like such nice people. How's everybody doing today? Have you burnt anything down with your fireworks? I didn't get any fireworks this year. Or any year, for that matter. I think they're kind of dangerous. How's everybody doing? Enjoying the holiday? Probably not in Transylvania. They don't have a holiday today in Transylvania, though we should allow them to. I'm going to begin this evening. Well, actually, no, we're not beginning this evening. We don't begin for 15 minutes. This is just me visiting. I'm going to tell you a story during the visit, if I may. And I will say hi to people. I can do that in the first 15 minutes now. That's what the committee said. I thought this weekend that it would be a real treat for me to refinish my desk where I normally do my live streams from, because it was so badly beaten up. I mean, it's the same desk I bought the first day I was in practice, which was a long time ago. And that desk has been with me everywhere. And it's just, I think it's a piece of junk, but it's just my desk. I couldn't be without it. So I thought I'd refinish it, at least the top of it. So I read a couple of articles on it and watched a few YouTube videos. It seemed pretty straightforward. And then I poured this chemical on it and all the covering boiled up and I scraped it off. And then I sandpapered it and everything was going well. And it was back to wood and it looked fantastic. The wood did underneath. It looked like rosewood. No, not rosewood. It looked like cherry. That's it. And then I put some stain on it, like the instructions said. And it looked awful, just awful. But I kept on with the instructions. And the next thing was to put some chemical on it called polyurethane. The stuff was like syrup coming out of the can, and I couldn't spread it out properly. Well, this morning the desk looked 100 times worse than it ever had before. And then I started sanding it, and that was the mistake, because now everything I own, probably everything my neighbors own, is covered in about ½ an inch of red dust. I imagine this will be what it's like when we live on Mars. You'll go out to get the paper and you'll come back in covered in red dust. Everything is covered in red dust, except my photography stuff, which I had the presence of mind to put in the boot of my car while I did this. But everything else is coated in red dust and it won't come off. I'm in a bad mood about this. Fortunately, I covered the things I couldn't move with plastic sheeting. And then when I took the plastic sheeting off, all the dust that was on the sheeting got airborne and went on all the things in the shelf. I'm never doing this again, ever. And I don't know what I'm going to do with my desk. Set fire to it, I think, probably, because it looks shocking. I'm going to have to re-sand the whole thing. But I can't take it outside because it weighs 250 pounds. And it's wide. That's what I've been doing today on July the 4th. I've been celebrating being kicked out of the country by sanding desks. What have you been doing? Tell me. Let's see, who's here? I know Robert's here because we were chatting earlier. And let me see. Looks like I was the first person to leave a message. No, it was just me and Robert there chatting away. I know Mike's here. How's it going in Phoenix? It's hot, probably, for July the 4th. You don't need fireworks out there. Too dangerous. Let me see. Just me's here from Transylvania. Glad you're here. And Gochi, we've already chatted. Thank you for wishing us a happy holiday. I'm really not sure what we do on this holiday. I've never actually done one. Whenever we had this at the hospital, I always volunteered to work. I volunteered to work this one and New Year's Eve and all the other ones I didn't understand, so that I could get Christmas off every year. And that's what I did. Yeah, my kids were grateful for that, I think. But I never did learn how to do a July 4th. For me, July 4th was treating burns in the trauma room, which was not a big day for me. I mean, I didn't look forward to it. I don't like doing that. Anyway, I'm allowed to ramble also in the first 15 minutes. I'll get deadly serious at the top of the hour, but we've still got a while to go. So let me see, who else is here? Well, it's a small group tonight. Walter's here, I see. Happy Independence Day, Walter. Don't rub it in. And Anna's here, anaphylaxis. Anna, you... is this appropriate because you're from California? I don't know if I'm allowed to even ask this, so I won't ask it. Forget that I even said that. We'll move on. Let me see. Larry's here. Larry, I want to show you something. Mark II. Are you impressed? There's a problem though. Neoprene. It's a bit too thick. There's no way to thin neoprene, is there? Yeah, it's too thick compared to what I had on there, but it's very nice. I made that in the 3D printer, by the way, everybody, and I could not have done it had not Larry helped me understand all of the ins and outs of that. Also made this. It's a part that goes on a bellows. It was broken, but it's now fixed. Thanks again to Larry. He's taught me everything I know about 3D printing. So tonight, what we're going to do is really whatever you want to do. It's your deal. I do this for you guys. So whatever it is you want to do, we'll do. But if you don't have anything for me, then I'm going to talk a little bit about this. And it's going to be an interesting conversation, I think, because it was a very surprising weekend for me. I spent the weekend with this lens, and my reaction to it and my reaction to everything around it was not what I expected. So I was going to talk a little bit about that tonight. On Thursday, by the way, I'm going to be talking about the whole concept of doing reviews on YouTube. What it actually means, and when you can trust them and when you can't, and what they're all about. I think it's going to be useful for you as consumers. It's certainly been useful for me as a creator of that stuff to look very hard at what we do and why we do it. So I thought we'd have that discussion and see if it leads anywhere. It may not, but it might be helpful for you to know at least what goes through my head when I'm doing reviews, because there are a lot of conflicting interests there, so it's worth talking about. It doesn't get talked about nearly enough. So that's coming up, and then if you're a Patreon supporter, that means you chip in a few bucks every month to pay my salary. Several people left last month, I guess because they didn't like the videos I started making again. I put out 5 videos or something in the last 2 weeks, and about 3 people left, which is a shame. But anyway, the Patreon folks, we get together every other Saturday for 2 hours, and that is like this, only you can talk as well. It's a Zoom meeting, so we all get together, and whatever you have on your mind, whatever you want to talk about, we talk about it. And if you don't want to talk about anything, I talk and talk and talk and show things and do all kinds of entertaining antics. But that's this Saturday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If you're not a Patreon person, but you are interested in CAD and CAM, the 3D modeling stuff, then we have our guest Josh, who had agreed to come and do a tutorial on using Fusion 360. He's actually going to be there this weekend, and it's not for the actual session that he was going to do. It's just to visit and hopefully pick a time that we can do this. Yeah, I'll be happy to let you in to visit if you'd like to come. And then, of course, when he does come back and give the course, everybody who signed up for it is welcome to attend. That will be open to everybody. But anyway, what else coming up this week? I have 2 videos coming out probably tonight. No, tonight I'm meeting with a Chinese company right after this. It's a company you know quite well. You've probably got one of their lenses in your bag or on your camera. And I'm meeting with them tonight because it's tomorrow morning over there. And it's a great honor to get to talk to them. So that's happening tonight. That's why I put on a shirt and tie. I didn't put on a tie, did I? There you go. Anyway, that will be good. I'm looking forward to it. And then after that, I am in the last little bits of finishing the edit on a video that you're definitely going to want to watch. 2 videos. Both of them are the photo competition. The first one is an abbreviated version. It's the last 5 winners, or the last 5 places, 5 through the winner. And that's for people who don't want to spend 3 hours getting a masterclass for free on stereo photography. But if there's anything about stereo that you have ever wanted to hear, watch the other video, because I will put it up and nobody will have to watch it. But Rick and I went through every single photograph that was submitted and every video that was submitted. And if you submitted a video, or a photograph or a pair of photographs, and you wonder why you didn't win, assuming you weren't the one that won, you can find out why, and exactly why. Down to the pixel, you will learn why you didn't win. And if that would interest anybody else, then go watch it, because it is the most thorough and complete analysis of a set of photographs that I have ever seen. And it was mind-boggling to watch Rick go through each and every pair and explain exactly what was done wrong, what was done right. And believe me, when he praises one of these stereo pairs, it will make you blush. So if you turn one in, you probably need to watch, because he says something nice about pretty much all of them. No, that's not true. There are some he doesn't say anything nice about. Like mine, he's never said anything nice about. So there you go. Made me feel great. But anyway, we were together on Sunday night for 3 hours recording this. And while we were recording, I thought, what am I going to cut out? There's nothing in here that I can cut. And that's true. There was nothing I could cut. So I just I made the short version, just the last winners. And that will be out tonight. I'm sorry you're having to wait so long to find out who won, but it will be worth it. Let me see who's got messages for me. I wish I didn't have all these bright lights shining in my eyes, because I can't really read very well. Let me see. It just did that jumpy thing where it got ahead of me. There we are. Do I have any idea how to make the 4x microscope objective telecentric? No, I do not. I have absolutely no idea how you would make a fixed aperture finite microscope objective telecentric, but I'm sure that there's a way. The problem is, of course, the biggest thing that you could photograph with it would be as big as the entrance pupil of that objective, which is about as big as a pinhead. I don't know. I'll ask Rick on Wednesday when I meet with him. It's a good question, but I'm afraid I don't know. Wherever Larry is, it's hot and humid. And yeah, and everyone around him has all their fingers after the festivities. Festivities last night? Am I off by a day? Or was there other festivities? I don't know. Stack and stitch demo, not the stack part. Yeah, the stitch part. That is something that I did years ago, and it was successful because I picked a fairly easy subject, and I used a lot of tricks in Photoshop to stitch it together. But the reality was I wasn't using a telecentric setup, so doing this properly, yeah, that would be a good video, and it's one of the things on my list. So it'll be a while. Well, it might not be, actually, come to think of it. There are other videos, by the way, coming out on the tail that were almost out before this before the competition video. One that is almost finished as well, that is also the subject of this evening's conversation. It's this lens. It is the review of the 200 next to the MC105 f2.8, and it's a very interesting video, I thought, and I made it, and God, they never interest me. So there you go. You probably want to see that. That will be out soon. Then there's also, I've done one, I recorded this ages ago now, but one on Nikon's flash lineup, what I like, what I don't, and you know, what you need to know if you're buying a flash. Would it help to make things more interesting if you were to look at me from the side? Oh, I'm not moving. I'm frozen. Don't look at me from the side. I don't know what happened with my camera. That's my good camera too. Oh dear, it's probably got dust in it. Let me see. Stack and stitch demo is on the way. You know what the biggest part of that is going to be teaching you guys how to use the stereo photo maker thing, because you've got to process these images in a very particular way to stitch them together, like you do with a panorama. That might be something, actually, that might be something to do live on a per Zoom with Rick sometime, if he's willing to do that. That would be good. It's 3:43 in the morning in Transylvania. I'm not going to say anything about vampires because I'm sure you hear that all the time and it would get old, so I won't. But 3:43 in the morning, isn't it past your bedtime? That's even past my bedtime. Let me see. Anaphylaxis immediately chimes in. There's got to be a vampire joke in there somewhere. Yeah, there are 3, but I'm not saying any of them out loud. It's just rude. Susan, greetings. I didn't realize you were here. How are you? How's everything up in that area? Nice, I hope. It's steamy down here. I hope you're planning on coming down soon. We have something of yours we're talking about this evening, which has been a surprise, but we'll get into that in a minute. Let me see. Polyurethane should be thin before putting it on. Yes. Well, thank you. Could you have told me that last week? The thing is, when I poured it out of the can, it was like treacle. And I thought, well, blimey, how am I going to get this little bitty can to cover the desk? So I just poured it all on the desk and then spread it out. And this morning it just looked like some kinds of skin cancer. That's not a good look for a desk, or a skin for that matter. Yeah, I should have. I didn't even know you could dilute it. I'm going to give you a tip, though. I'm going to give everybody a tip. Do you use contact cement like I do? I use it for everything. No, I don't. I use it for some things. But if you have contact cement and you buy it in a can like I do, and you use it once, and then you go back to use it again in about, I don't know, an hour, and the whole thing has just become a solid rubbery blob in there, normally you'd throw it away, but you don't have to throw it away. You can now use a technique. Don't follow my directions though, because this might be very dangerous. I don't know. I read somewhere that degreasing chemical would loosen up the globbiness of the stuff so you could use it again. And I read somewhere else that after you put it on, you can clean up with mineral spirits. So I thought, well, if you mix together dry cleaning fluid and mineral spirits and put that in the glue, that ought to loosen it up. Well, it does. It turns it back into the exact same thing it was. It smells a bit worse, but it goes on with a paintbrush, dries normally, and sticks like you wouldn't believe. Yeah. And it makes you cough a little bit. So you probably should wear a respirator or have somebody else do it. But yeah, it worked for me. Don't follow my directions. That's a dangerous thing to do. I tried it because I desperately needed some contact cement, and Amazon hasn't delivered mine. They probably know I don't use it correctly, but there you go. Is it time for me to get serious? I can't tell. Oh, I should have been serious for the last 2 minutes. I'm going to finish saying hello, though. Bruce is here. Hey, Bruce, how's the middle of winter down there? Did the insects come back ever? I can't believe that you are suffering an insect drought there, though I suppose in the winter you do. But I'm glad you're here, And then Anna comes back to say that polyurethane should still be thin before you use it, or it's the same message and I'm reading it twice. Either way, it feels like you're picking on me. I'm never using it again. This was a polyurethane that said on the can, extra fast drying, and I thought, well, that would be good, seeing as I was planning on doing the live stream at my desk. And apparently the extra fast drying is the stuff you shouldn't buy, that you use in one coat. You're supposed to put it on runny and multiple coats. I know all this now when it doesn't matter anymore. So our Transylvanian says he hasn't seen a vampire in 300 years. That makes him a vampire, right? Oh, dearie me. Can't pull a fast one on us there. Oh dear, excellent. Harrogate, Leroy, welcome. I almost said something that would have given the game away, given a game away, but yeah, enjoyed your stereo images. Impressive work. And you'll be hearing more about that if you watch a video later on tonight. Let me see. Ask away. Ask away what? Oh, the question. No, I'll ask offline. Yeah, I don't know how to ask you a question offline, but I'll try to figure that out. Do you belong to Discord? You should come to Discord. That's a good place to ask questions. All right, let me see. Those are nice prints. What a nice prints. I don't see any prints. Fingerprints all over everything from the dust. Don't know. The only prints in this room are the ones that my phone is looking at, which is my phone's gone to sleep too. It's just nothing's working today. I don't know what happened. It was working earlier. It's it's OBS has got it in for me. Maybe it's got dust on its chip. All right, I am going to talk. Waller, that's a new name. Are you a new person, sir? I'm Alan. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Waller, and please come back again. We do this twice a week, soon to be 3 times a week. We're starting up a new one. I'm just trying to figure out what day to do it on. It's going to be a tech-focused, kind of geeky gathering for people who want to talk about gadgets that you make and 3D printers and all of that stuff that I love to talk about. People have told me not to talk about it here because people want to talk about photography. I can't separate the two. I think that gadget building is part of photography for me. That's why I love macro. But anyway, I'm going to do this separately. If you have an opinion on what day would be good for you, if you plan to come to it, I know Larry will be there, I'm sure. Tell me when. Tell me when you want to do it, because I mean I've got nothing but free time. I just sit around all day. So it's not really, but I mean whenever you want to do it, I'm good with that. So yeah, that's coming up. I forgot what we were talking about. They look awesome. Just change the the thickness parameter. I don't know what that is, but they do look good because I bought a rail for them. These are actually the same ones. I just painted them. See? But and the reason I did that is I'm meeting with somebody tonight who is going to be interested in seeing that. I wish it was a bit nicer. I was going to print them again, but my printer was covered in dust, so I've had to move it to the dust removal part of the house, which is outside. Everywhere is covered in dust. How does dust get through plastic sheeting? I don't understand it. Anyway, I'm going to talk now for a little bit about Mauricio Garcia, who's another new person who's joining us from Uruguay. Greetings, Mauricio. I'm glad you're here. I'm Allan. You met the other folks out there with you, and you come back. I mean, we do this, like I said, 3 times a week soon, 2 times a week now, but we got lots of other things, and we make videos. And yeah, and we talk offline, out of class and everything. So yeah, if you're into macro, this is a good place for you to be, because we do a lot of macro here. We talk about things like, oh, did I just hit the microphone? I think I did. Sorry about that. That must have sounded awful. We use macro lenses and new macro lenses, old macro lenses, beautiful macro lenses like this. And we also do things with microscopes and microscope objectives and all kinds of fancy builds. And that's what we do. I mean, we like to take pictures of little things. And sometimes we even take stereo pictures of little things. And I must tell you that the competition this month, we didn't have many entries, 25, 50 if you count both of the pictures in the stereo pair, which we won't. 25 is a slow month for us, but after looking at them, and more importantly, looking at how excited Rick Littlefield got, you have to know Rick to know that's not something that you see very often. And he was so excited. He was just excited looking at these pictures. He loved every minute of it. And I thought I was getting him to do a big favor for me by coming on and doing this. But I think he just relished it, because he loves interesting 3D pictures and stereo photographs like this. And he made a comment, as you'll see in the video, that he saw everything that he hoped to see, everything he expected to see, and a lot that he had no idea that he would see, things that surprised him. So if you submitted something, you need to watch the video, because watching him get excited is a rare event. And watching him get excited at your photograph is a red letter day for you. So yeah, you definitely need to check that out. Let me see, Jim is here. Jim, greetings. And Borderland's here. Good evening, Borderland. How are you doing, sir? And let me see. I think technology doesn't care for me, but I don't have a personal relationship with it. You know, I rely so heavily on technology. It's only really the communication stuff that seems to gang up on me. The photography stuff I'm great with. And it's probably because I have no training in it, but I'm using technology all the time in ways that are a bit challenging for me. So it's not surprising that all this OBS stuff is all new to me. I'd never done this before, never heard about it, never seen it. So I've had to learn a lot in the last year or so. Yeah, it appears to not like me, but really I like it rather a lot. And I couldn't do this photography without it. It's just there's too much stuff you have to make, because they don't make it. Half the stuff that I use in my studio, you can't buy it for love nor money. You've got to make it yourself. So I've learned how to do all of that. And Alistair's here. Greetings. And what butterfly photos? Oh, Angie's butterfly photos. I didn't know we were sharing photos. How are you seeing these things that I'm not? Voila, Alistair, for me, real name, just discovered your channel and already bought a microscope lens. Fantastic. What did you buy? So Alistair, that's going to be confusing. Can we call you something else? Because we've already got an Alistair who just said hi right before you. But he's Alistair with a D. It's a Scottish way of spelling it. We'll just call you Alistair. The way your name's pronounced, that's good. And Arctic Penguins here from the Seattle area, greetings. And Michael Wallace, good evening from windy New Zealand, he says. Well, we could do with some wind down here because it's just like being underwater. I went outside today for 3 minutes to, well, get dust off me, basically, and it was so hot. Just awful. Don't know how people stand it. Angie, greetings. How are you? And Amy's here. Fantastic. Good to see you, Amy. Great pictures, as always. Both of you, great pictures. There is a fly in here that is not going to get photographed, but he is going to get squashed if he lands on me. The 3D prints. What 3D prints? I'm confused. I don't know what 3D prints you're talking about. Unless, oh, the 3D prints, these prints. I was thinking you were talking about photographs. Sorry about that. I'm just, you're right. It's been a long day. Let's move ahead. Let me see. Anybody else I haven't said hi to? I don't think so. Tell me about that microscope lens you got, Walla or Alistair. I'd like to hear about that because maybe we can give you some pointers on how to set it up. I'll look at the bottom and see if you answered that. Okay, Paul Flickner's here. Is another new person. Paul, I believe we haven't met. Welcome, glad you're here. And you've got a question. Anyone use or anyone have any thought on the Tokina 100 100mm ATX macro? Yes, I was just building a telecentric lens with it one live stream ago. I would run to the back and grab it and bring it out and you know, we'd talk about it, but I don't, it's at the back, it's in the back, and my secretary's already gone home. 5 years ago she went home, never came back. Yes, what do you want to know about it? It's a nice lens. Very nice lens. I mean, there are the third-party lenses that are out there now. The Tamrons, like I use a Tamron 90mm. So does Bruce, and the Tokinas and the Sigmas. They're good lenses. They're really well made. The thing about macro lenses is they are hard to make. They have a lens like this, which is now 30 years old, has 11 elements in it, in like 8 groups, 11 elements in 8 groups. It has special coatings that help with flare and what have you, and all macro lenses have to have that level of complexity, the internal focusing and what have you. Otherwise, they're not useful as macro lenses. The whole point of a macro lens is it has to be so precise. You flipped everything around in there. So for any company that's making lenses, to make a macro lens is a challenge for them, and they put more money into that than into anything else. It's why they're all expensive. That Tokina is a very good lens, but I'd say you'd have a hard time finding any rubbish macro lens at 90 or above, 90mm or above. There are some pretty rubbish short focal length macro lenses. They're really magnifying glasses, but we won't get into those. I'm going to stop saying hi to everybody unless I see some new names, because I've got to get to the discussion. This is going to be a video. This is a video. I've already made a video on this, and in the video I go into a lot more detail than I will tonight. But I do want to talk about the experience of shooting with a 200mm lens, a macro lens, over shooting with a 100mm lens, which is what most people have. It's what most people who get into macro will will gravitate towards the 90 to 105 millimeter focal length because it's about the ideal focal length. It gives you a large enough field of view. It gives you enough magnification. It's usable, and it's a big enough lens that you can pack it with all of the features that the most modern lenses of that company have. Now, the lens that I was using the last 2 weeks is the MC105 f2.8 from Nikkor. It's the new Z macro lens, and it is a lens that has profoundly impressed me, because it does things and allows me to do things that I couldn't do with any of my lenses. It is so fast and so bright, and it is so perfectly matched to the Z8 camera I was using it on. It was just an absolute joy to use. And by comparison, there's a lens that I used to own that I don't anymore, and I've always thought of it as the best macro lens in the world. It's this one. It's the Micro Nikkor 200 millimeter f4. This lens came out in 1993, and it hasn't really changed since then. They stopped making it ages ago. And it is an unbelievably sharp lens, and it has all of the benefits of being a longer focal length lens. But what are those benefits, and which of the two of these is the best lens? Which lens would you want to own? Well, going into this weekend, I didn't have a question about it. I mean, I'm not a closed-minded person, but I absolutely knew if I could have one of the two lenses, it would be the 200. Absolutely, hands down. It is a classic macro lens. There aren't really very many other lenses out there that will give you image quality like this will. Some of the printing Nikkors that my friend Mike Canfer uses in the film industry, yeah, they are not usable as lenses on a camera. I mean, you can't carry them around. You can't focus them. They're fixed focus. This lens is in that same kind of class. It's so beautiful, and the images are so satisfying. But I had forgotten what a royal pain in the butt it is to carry around and try to shoot with. Let me tell you what happened. I went out on Saturday, and it was 1.5 million degrees out there. And I went out with 2 camera straps and 2 cameras and 2 lenses. On one shoulder, I had the Z8 with the MC105, a full battery and a full card. On the other shoulder, I had a D850 with the 200 millimeter f4. I carried no flash, no reflectors, no nothing. It was going to be found light, handheld, period. And I did an intro to the video that I was doing. I also carried a portable camera for that. And it was just miserably hot. And I started walking through the woods with both cameras, and stopped whenever I saw anything I wanted to photograph. And I tried to photograph everything twice. Once with one camera, then with the other. And I always alternated so that I would get some kind of a feel for when I was being slowed down by one camera or the other. In other words, I'd probably get more first cracks at the subject than I would second. And I'll give you the short version of the story. I don't want to bore you, but I took many pictures, hundreds of pictures. And I got back to the house and I loaded both cards on the computer. And of the card that I'd been shooting on the Z8, there were dozens of very good pictures. Almost despite myself, there were dozens of pictures. I'm not sure that I would classify any as a keeper, but I mean, as something I'd put in my portfolio, but I mean, I wasn't doing that kind of photography. I was running and gunning and trying to just get good pictures as quickly as I could. Do you know how many good pictures I got with the 200? None. Not some, not a handful. I got none, because it is a really, really difficult lens to use, and I was so out of practice with it. It has about the clunkiest, worst autofocus you're ever likely to see. It is more of an impediment than it is a useful tool. I did use it so that I could test it, and there is no doubt that with a 200mm lens, which I love that length, I can stand way off from my subject, and I did get shots that I couldn't get with the other camera because I couldn't get close enough. And by the way, all of these pictures, good and bad, are in the video. In addition to the autofocus, the lens and the camera are so heavy together that I found that even bracing myself against a tree or sitting on the ground and using my knee, I was having a hard time keeping this camera still at a speed of 1/200th of a second. And there is no vibration control in either the camera or in the lens, and it is a narrow, long lens, so any vibration, any shake is going to be amplified. Your field of view is incredibly restricted compared to a 90mm or 105mm, which makes you feel like the whole world is yours. There was a jumping spider, a gorgeous jumping spider, on the rock where I started the video, and I saw it just as I was getting started. I grabbed the 105 and I took a bunch of pictures of it, and it was just like shooting on my regular camera with my Tamron, piece of cake, and a lot of those pictures were nice. When I got the 200 out, I couldn't find the spider. I could not find the spider to save my life, because the autofocus is so slow and it laboriously hunts through the field for your subject, that by the time you get in focus, the thing's moved on. And it's just hard to use. So Sunday morning I got up and I said, well, there's just no way I can put a video out that just shows me struggling with the lens. I need to use the lens the way the lens is designed to be used. And I made a second video on Sunday. And in that video, I went out with the 105 and I did the same thing. I went out and took pictures and came back and cooled off and assembled my gear and went out with what I needed to take good pictures with the 200, which was flash, a tripod, and all the other gadgetry that you use when you're shooting with the kind of lens that needs to be held still. And it was an adventure. I didn't go far because it was already getting late in the day and I was already worn out from the first go around. So I went in my garden and I went around the garden and I took pictures, and some of the pictures are nice. Some of the pictures are nicer than anything I was able to get with the 105. And some of the pictures took me half an hour to set up. I mean, to get them just exactly the way I wanted them. And that's really why I titled this discussion and the video as no comparison, because these are not comparable lenses. They're not made for the same photographer. They're not made for the same circumstance. They're a 200mm manual focus lens, and that's what this is. Forget about autofocus. It's a manual focus, old-fashioned lens, is for a particular kind of photography. It's for the kind of photography where you can go out and spend all day and not take a picture because you didn't see anything that really worked for you. If you're that kind of photographer and you believe that a great day's photography is one or two fantastic photographs, if that rings a bell with you, then going out with a lens like this is exactly the kind of thing that you would get the most joy out of. If you want to come back with cards jam-packed with great, colorful, sharp pictures, buy the 105. No question. Buy the 105 and buy a Z8, and you'll come back with great pictures every time. If you want to get pictures, use a mirrorless camera and the best new macro lens you can afford. If you want to get the best picture of your life and you're willing to kiss a lot of frogs on the way, get the 200 and just change your mindset. The truth is, I'm both of those photographers. There are some days I get up in the morning and all I want to do is grab the 105 and go shoot. There are other days when I am feeling it and I want to make the kind of picture that I'll hang on the wall. And for that, I would want the 200 every time. So it's a bit of a surprise. I really wasn't expecting to feel this strongly about it. And I expressed that in the video as well. But a couple of the things, if you're interested, about this lens that I had forgotten how much I hated. At the end of this video editing time, I remembered why I sold this lens. It was partly because I needed the money, and this is a more expensive lens. You could buy half of one of these for what you can get the 105 for. Well, not really. This is about, for one this good, and this is about the most mint condition one I have ever seen. This is Susan's. You'll probably pay $1,500 to $1,700. For a brand new MC105 f2.8 S, you'll pay about $950. So yeah, it's not far off twice as expensive. It is an autofocus lens, kind of. This is the autofocus button. That changes it from auto to manual by twisting this. And anybody who's seen this lens knows that this is the first thing to break, but it's not broken on this one, and I didn't break it either, so it's great. The problem is, when you are using the manual focus, if you turn the focus ring all the way to the end, you engage autofocus. It clicks into place and you have to turn it back off again. So constant, until you get used to that, and in the heat, I never got used to it. I was in manual mode and I kept putting it by accident into auto by grabbing what I thought was the focus ring, but I was grabbing the button. Anyway, it's miserable when you do that and the butterfly flies away, as it happened every single time. But, you know, what can you say? This thing is a work of art. It's a gorgeous lens. I don't think that I'm a good enough photographer to really give this a run for its money. But it's the kind of lens that I absolutely would treasure. One of these days I'm going to get another one. It's definitely worth having. It will make you become a better photographer, or it'll make you quit. One. Other companies make long lenses like this. Irix is a new company that has a manual 150, which is a very nice lens. I've only used it once. I've never had it for any period of time. And when I asked to get one to try out, they turned me down. So yeah, so bad luck for them, I suppose. But I believe a 180 is made by a Canon, which is supposed to be very nice. I haven't used that lens. And then, gosh, there's another one. Oh, Sigma. Sigma has a good, either a 180 or a 200. You guys will probably know that. But anyway, the longer lenses, they allow you to stalk your subjects more effectively. You don't scare away as many things. There is something really what's the word? Comfortable about being able to back off. You know, you're only backing off about a foot. It's not like you can be at the other end of the football field. The other thing I love about this is you get more light on a bright day when, like it was on Saturday. I had no trouble with light because I could always be far enough back to get all the light I needed. This has a 62 millimeter front filter thread, which is perfect for the R1C1 flash. It makes the whole thing a bit cumbersome, but the R1C1 works really well with this, and that's the flash that I use to take the pictures that are in the video. So that's another thing I like about it. I like the weight and the length of the lens, but everything else is more of a negative, except for the image quality. The image quality is second to none. It has everybody talks about bokeh, like the out of focus parts of the photograph are the most important, but I'll tell you, this lens, it has a quality in the out of focus areas that you won't see with any other lens that I've ever looked through. It's just gorgeous, just glorious. It's very soft and very painterly. In fact, a lot of the pictures I took on Sunday looked like they'd been painted, and I love that feel. The lens isn't geometrically perfect. There are some aberrations. It doesn't have any aspherical elements. They hadn't even been invented when this lens was designed, I don't think. It does flare, and there is a little bit of ghosting, but you work with it, and when you can't get rid of it, you make it part of your composition. It's beautiful. It is so different than shooting the 105. The 105 is just a joy to use, but it's all just a different mindset. So I hope you enjoy the video if you watch it. It's not really a review. I mean, you can't review a 30-year-old lens that isn't even on the market anymore, but it is an interesting discussion, and you'll get to see me sweat too, and boy, I was getting angry with myself over it. But anyway, how did this even get started? Oh, I was talking about the videos that were coming out. The other one's about flash. Yeah, it's really a review of the R1C1, which is another ancient piece of equipment that is well worth having. I have so enjoyed using the R1C1. It's the only TTL I have ever used that I, in a short period of time, came to trust. I actually believe that ITTL that Nikon has really is onto something. And I wish that their other flashes were less ridiculously expensive. $600 for a speedlight, that's nuts. I thought $200 for a Godox was pretty insane, but yeah, 600's out of the question. But anyway, don't get me started on prices. Let me see. Do some of you use the Tamron 180? Oh, the old 180? I have never used that lens. I've never seen one, actually. That's a pretty rare lens. Russ Richards says, for field macro, I tend to use enlarger lenses, 50 and 80, mostly from Schneider and Rodenstock, on homemade extension tubes. Yes, there are problems with that, and I'll tell you the main reason I don't, and I seldom ever go outdoors with what I consider to be a studio setup, which is that, and it is the lack of infinity focus. I just, when I'm out in the field, I like to be able to shoot anything that I see that I think would be an interesting composition, and oftentimes that's not a macro subject. A lens like the 200 or the 105 are both fantastic portrait lenses, and they are great for shooting larger animals and what have you. And out in the woods around here, you can see anything. So I am not super keen on doing that, though there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and they are great lenses that you're choosing to take out there. And I've done it before. It's just not what I reach for every time. What sounds perfect for fungal or floral location photos? The 200? Absolutely. In fact, that is rather a lot of what I did on Sunday, was take pictures of flowers with you in mind, Angie, because I cannot take flower pictures like you can, but the way that you get the backgrounds so perfect, yeah, you would love this 200mm lens. I am going to see if let me press a button here and see if that breaks everything. I actually do have a couple of pictures that I can share with you. We've got plenty of time. So I've got some pictures from the weekend that I will show you if I can figure out how to do it without breaking the... No, I've got a spinning beach ball of doom. One of the few times the 200 got a picture that the 100 could not was a butterfly. There weren't many butterflies out. We haven't had butterflies this year like we usually do. And I'm going to show you a couple of pictures here real quick. But there was one butterfly, it's called a fritillary, a Gulf fritillary, that came bopping past and stopped on a bush, but it was too far away for the 105. I mean, I could get a picture of it, but it was very, very little. Let me see if I can find it. It's I remember where it was. And what I did, by the way, on Saturday when I got back from that miserable day in the heat, I did take some pictures of that clock behind me on the shelf. It's got a glass window. Oh, a broken glass window. It's got a little glass window on the top with some jeweled movements and what have you in there. And I photographed that with both of the cameras and lenses that I've been using outdoors to give you a really good idea of why I said what I said about them. But let me see if I can find the butterfly, seeing as that's what we're talking about. It was so little in the 105, I'm not sure I'll be able to see it. Nope, let me try another one. This fly is really driving me nuts. You'd think it would go somewhere else with all of this dust. Ah, here it is. Yeah. So this is the butterfly shot with a 105. Let me show you here. So there it is. That is as close as I could get. I really couldn't get any closer. It was way over there. Now it's not bad in focus considering I'm at 200% right there. At least you can see it's a butterfly. When he closes his wings, he just kind of disappeared. Now the same butterfly, I have to go to another file to find it because I kept all the pictures separate. But when I went over to the other one, let me change something here. It was a good bit closer. Here we go. Wasn't that close. So, you know, there's something to be said for being able to get that much closer. Now that, of course, is a crop. It's about a 50% crop, but I was still close enough to get much more reasonable pictures. These are a few of the only decent ones that I got that day, and they do show a lot of detail. I mean, that is such a sharp lens, but you can see what the lack of vibration reduction does as my left elbow was starting to quaver under the weight. These are beautiful butterflies. That's actually not a bad picture. I suppose these aren't as bad as I thought. Not all of them anyway. Let's see if there was anything else. There were some nice flowers out there. Ooh, that's out of focus. Yeah, I don't know how to photograph flowers, Angie. You're going to have to teach me. I rather like these things. These are those poisonous ones, lantanas, I think. All the things that weren't flying around, I could get pictures of. The things that were, the insects, terrible. All the good insect pictures were taken with the. You can just see they're awful, just awful. Blurry as can be. I'll show you the 105s of this damselfly and you'll see what I mean. Now I could get closer than I could with the 105, but closer to get terrible pictures. Awful, awful, awful. Let's look at the 105s of the same beast. And I'm going to come back and ask you guys a question about something else that I saw. I think it was right in this group. No, that was a jumping spider. It was somewhere in here. I was almost back to the car. Yeah, this is it. I can't see it though. There it is. So you can see that these are much sharper. They're taken from twice as far away, and that's at 300%, yet it's sharper than the other. Really not that bad, considering that lens and camera are magical. And like I say, on some days that's the way I want to take pictures. Let me ask you this question. Maybe you can answer it for me. What in the world is this? Now this is a comparison picture. This was taken with the 105, and you can see how noisy it is. No flash, and it was in the shade. You know what it is? Growing right out the middle of a leaf. I don't know what it is, but I would like to. I'll show you what it looks like with the 200. It's a slightly easier to see. Now tell me that isn't a more detail. That is, yeah, I've no idea what they are. Sea anemones that have crawled up out of the ocean. No idea. Does anybody know? Tell me if you do. Let me see what else. I think that's, I like these flowers. Don't know what they are, but yeah. So there's something to be said for the longer lens, but oh, there was a moth that I could not get a picture of, so I won't show you. The clock. Let me show you the clock pictures, because they might be of interest. I don't think I got a single usable picture of this jumping spider at the end either. I did with the 105, but I just couldn't get this guy. He was, yeah, I couldn't get him in focus. It was this was my using the autofocus experiment at the end. But every time it would focus on him, he'd jump one way or the other. Awful. Yeah, let's not look at any more of those. That's just too depressing. The clock. Good news for people who live in my town. We're getting an indoor pharmacy. The bench is no longer going to be used after this weekend, so that's good. I don't know what that even means, but that's in the park. That that I live at. Then flowers. I took lots of pictures of flowers. They're pretty boring, aren't they? I mean, my pictures of flowers. Though I discovered that they have things in them with magnifying, binoculars. I'll show you what I mean. Look, if you go to one of these, I think it's this one. Yeah, you can see their little binoculars looking out of the inside of the flower. They've all got them. Every one of the flowers has them. Very strange. Yeah, and a mushroom and ants. I photographed ants, and until I discovered they were dragging other insects down into the tree to eat, and that put me off, so I stopped photographing them. But yeah, there are ants in all of these pictures. The only good ant pictures I got were with the 200, and they were just lucky because the ant stopped long enough for me to get it. One of them came home with me and bit me on the leg repeatedly in the car. Probably not enjoying finding himself in my trousers, I would assume. I can certainly understand it. This was the clock that I did some test shots with, and it will be hard to just tell from zipping through them, but there is a quality to the pictures taken with the 200. These are with the 200. Even this is all handheld, but it's resting on the table, and they just looked better to me than my kitchen. We won't look at my kitchen. We'll look instead at the clock here. There's just something. These are sharp and they're perfectly nice, but when you look at them side by side, there's just something about them. Look in the video and you'll see. You can't fault this. It's a bit noisier, but it's still a beautiful lens. So let me see. That's enough looking at boring pictures. I think I've made my point. Let me see if I can figure out how to get myself back on. There you go. So let me see. There must be some comments after all of that rambling. Let me put the comments back up. You know what would be fun? What I would really love to do is someday is to get a group together, a group of you guys, physically in the same place, and go out and take some pictures and talk about these things. Talk about what works and what doesn't work. I mean, I'd love to see how you guys take pictures, because I see your pictures. You let me see your pictures in the competitions. I know how good your work is. I'd love to see how you do it, and I'd love to show you the things I've learned. That would be great. It's a shame that we all live in different parts of the universe, because it would be fun. That is a big part of photography for me, is the social aspect of it. Though, you know, I don't really know any photographers in this community, but yeah, it would be cool. I think about that from time to time. So let me go back up to where I. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of comments here. So I will. All right. Good. Angie, I have a magic inbuilt alarm. I don't know what the alarm is for, but good, I guess. Angie and Leroy are chattering in a good way, and I don't know if anybody answered Paul's question about having the Tokina 100 that they're currently using. Leroy was doing a stack of 15,000 Yeah, that would crash a computer. Oh, that's something I meant to tell you about. I got a computer, and I'm going to be reviewing it. And that's it. That's all I'm going to tell you. But it wouldn't crash with 15,000 photographs. I promise. Anyway, the photo contest was just different this month. It was a different experience for me. I mean, it's been the last 2 months have been fantastic, and I'm already looking forward to the next flower one. Do you know what this month is? Were you guys here at the beginning? I'm gonna. Do you mind listening to a little bit more of my music? Just a little bit, honestly, for a couple of seconds. I want to show you I made a promotional thing for the competition this month. Isn't that nice? Black and white. That's for this month of July, and all you've got to do is take a black and white photograph. It has to be macro, of course, but anything you want to do. And yeah, that's one we've never done before, though I've wanted to for a long time. But I like that promotional thing. I mean, I had that idea while I was doing something else. That happens to me a lot. So let me see what's been written down. Zeiss CP Achromat 10 times infinity. That is your objective, and it's a Zeiss, so it's uses a 180 millimeter tube lens, or is Zeiss 200? I can't remember. I don't have any Zeiss objectives. I'll look that up. It sounds nice if it's a apochromat. Do you have any? Is it a long working distance objective? That's, I guess, what I would worry about most. Yeah, I'll look that up. That's interesting. And all what big guns are here tonight? All the big names in the audience? Yep, they sure are. We got some really big hitters photography-wise, and a lot of people whose names are going to be coming up again in the video tonight. It's going to be good. Let me see. Hope it'll work. That was quite a chase to find all the parts to make it fit on the Raynox. It shouldn't be. I mean, you don't. Well, it depends, I guess, on what all you need to set it up with. Roy Bixby says the 100 macro from Tokina is great, but had a few lubrication quality control problems. Ooh, well, I've heard that about other Tokina lenses, but I'll tell you, I've got 2 Tokina lenses I've never had a problem with, and I've had them for donkey's years, 10 years. Good. Paul is a new visitor, so everybody please say hi to Paul if you haven't already, but I think probably you have, and Amy already has, so there you go. Yeah, Paul, come back. We're here all the time, and we try to have fun some of the time. Let me see. Russ Richards, I did love my old Tamron 90mm f2.8. Oh yeah, right, the old one, very nice, back in the film days. They're not made like that anymore. No, they're not. But I'll tell you what, of the third-party lenses that I have tried, the one that I use, the Tamron 90, is my favorite by a long way. And I have taken a lot of my best pictures on that lens. I think it's a great lens. It was way ahead of the curve on the vibration control, I thought, which I liked. That was my first macro lens with VR. Let me see, what else? Anna has the Venus Optics 100mm f2.8. It is really good. Yes, it is. I used it this summer for several weeks. Captain Martinez was here visiting. And he brought that and a couple of other very nice lenses. And that 100, that's the one that's 2:1, I believe. Very nice lens, well balanced manual lens. Very nice. That's good to hear. That's what you use. I like that. Venus Optics is who I'm talking to tonight. Gosh, I'm glad I thought about that. I'm going to have to finish up on time at 9 o'clock because, yeah, it's tomorrow in Hong Kong, and that's where we're meeting. So, I'm glad you said that. Canon 180, right, Gary, that's what I was talking about. That's a heavy lens too, right? And it's a vintage lens as well. So you probably know exactly what I was talking about. And Anna says exactly the same conclusion that I arrived at, is I want them both. I mean, I think they are both two of the best lenses for my kind of photography that you could ever dream of owning. Two totally different but equally fantastic lenses. So I'm with you 100% on that. Let me see. Angie uses the Sigma 180. Yes, that's right. That's right. I've forgotten that. Yes, you did tell me that. Well, you would absolutely love this lens. This would be right up your alley. If you can shoot with the Sigma, you'll love this. It has a very similar feel to it. Let me see. The micro switch that triggers the camera shutter release stopped working. Angie's. Leroy's talking to Angie about his 8,000 photo stack. I have done so many of those. I don't ever want to do them again. I mean, I did one with a tiger beetle this summer that took me a week. Yeah, I'm as crazy as the rest of the macro world, but that wore me out. Okay, let me see. Seabell, you are never too late and you are always welcome. Glad you're here. How's Trinidad? Hopefully good. Joseph is here from Detroit, and better late than never. Glad you're here, Joseph. Happy 4th. And Sam P, have you ever seen the Nikon AFS Nikkor 200 f2? Yes, indeed. And yeah, it's a clunky, ugly lens that's very, very well. You know what? I almost said it's makes up for its clunkiness in sharpness, but it's really not. I didn't like that lens very much. Yeah, I used it several years ago for a while, and not crazy about it. I mean, if there's something about it that I should know, let me know. Primitive Dan made it. Hey, Primitive, glad you're here. Happy 4th of July. And Primitive Dan also uses the 100 f2.8. It is an impressive lens. It is. And I should mention that. You know, the lens I used the most from Leiwa last year was the wide angle. That is a fun lens to use. If you've never done any wide angle macro, you should definitely try that. That's a blast. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, Seabell's wishing he had time to pick up a camera. You know, this last weekend was the first time I've been out into nature with a camera since the beginning of spring. I have been so busy here, but it did make me realize I need to be out there a lot more. I say something in one of the videos that is worth repeating. If you want to take good macro pictures, you have to take a lot of macro pictures. You need to be out there. You need to be out there every chance you get. I can't go out there once every 6 months and expect to take good pictures. It just doesn't happen that way. So yeah, and it reminded me of that, being out there. And being out there and then coming home and looking at the rubbish pictures that I took, it reminded me that this is something that you need to stay up on. Okay, let me see. I think I'm going to have to run, but Bob Fine has a comment here. Have I tried to use the 200 f4 on the Z8 using a manual focus? Yeah, I have put it on the lens. I haven't taken it outside and used it. I put it on the Z8 with the adapter, and it's very, very front heavy. It didn't feel balanced to me, but now as you're saying that, I think I will. I've got the adapter, I've got the FTZ, and I can certainly do that. You know, it never occurred to me when I was out there to try that, but I didn't want to be changing lenses out there in that heat with sweat dripping off me. But I will try that, and I will report back, Bob. Thanks for bringing that up. Good point. I'm definitely going to research that 180 macro as well. That sounds good. All right. So Joseph has gotten quite used to a 200 f4 on the Z7. Yeah, I would like to try it. You know, I'd completely forgotten about the in-camera stabilization on that Z8. It's so quiet and flawless. Yeah, that would be good. I will try that. That is, unless Susan needs her camera back tomorrow. That would put a delay on that. Okay, let me see. Anything else? Bruce loves his Tamron, as do I. And lens. Okay, thumbs up, everybody. Give me a thumbs up. Oh, that sounded terrible, me ordering you around like that. I've got to go and get ready for Hong Kong, and I'll see you on Thursday. Thanks, everybody, for coming. And you know, the thing of coming 15 minutes early, I'll do that anyway, but yeah, I just keep doing what I'm doing normally. It doesn't change anything. It just means I talk for an extra 15 minutes. Robert, thank you very much for the tip. You're a good man. I really appreciate it. I'll go buy a bottle of soda for tonight. So everybody, have a great 4th of July, what's left of it. Be safe with your fireworks, and I will see you on Thursday. Actually, I'll see you in the video later on tonight. Take care. Good night.